Texas, you are running out of time to get ready for Beryl. It is currently a tropical storm, but it is expected to get stronger before landfall Monday morning and become a hurricane once again. So let's talk a little bit more in detail about the latest update that came from the National Hurricane Center at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. So you take a look at Beryl right now on water vapor, and you can still see some of those dark areas here. That does indicate that dry air. And it was good that this storm ran into dry air and wind shear because that actually weakened it a bit. It's over really warm water though, and the impact of shear and dry air definitely lessening. So it is expected to start to get its act together a little bit more. If that eye wall reforms, we're looking at some quick intensification. And we're expecting this storm to make landfall tomorrow morning along the Texas coastline as a category 1, likely with winds around 85 miles an hour. But there is the chance it could make landfall as a category 2. That is not outside the realm of possibility. So we've been watching this carefully. You take a look right now, and this is the latest recon. This is the Hurricane Hunters. This is a C-130J going through, and it's looking at winds just over 55 knots, which is about 65 miles per hour, which is what we're seeing with the latest update. So it's a tropical storm right now, and it should later today, I wouldn't be surprised by this next update, be a hurricane again. So the key messages are great to read from the National Hurricane Center, and they talk about what you're going to expect with this storm. So hurricane force winds starting as early as tonight into tomorrow morning for the Texas coast. And you've got that hurricane warning from Baffin Bay to San Luis Pass. And it says preparations need to be rushed to completion before we start to see tropical storm conditions late today. So you got a few hours at most. Life-threatening storm surge inundation along the coast from Padre Island National Seashore to Sabine Pass and Matagorda Bay and Galveston Bay are included in this. So, if you're in that area, you've been told to evacuate. Hopefully you've already done so. Flash flooding and urban flooding, which could be considerable. That includes the Houston metro area. We're looking at, 6 inches or more of rain with this storm at times, and then rip currents across much of the Gulf Coast. So, even if you're pretty far away from a storm, you could still get caught in rip currents. It's kind of an issue all along the Gulf. So obviously, if you're in Galveston right now, you don't want to be in the water, but, even in the northern Gulf, we're looking at some rip currents. Keep that in mind. So the other thing I want to talk about is the track of this storm. And you see this making landfall Monday morning, probably around 7 a.m., maybe a little sooner, as a hurricane. Once again, we're expecting a category 1, but a category 2 can't be ruled out. And that's what the National Hurricane Center has been saying. Prepare for. Prepare for a 2, hope for a 1. And that has been pretty consistent in terms of the intensity forecast. Now, the track has shifted a little bit further west in that kind of middle of the week time period. Yesterday, Nashville was in the cone. Today, we're not, which is okay with me, but we might get a little bit of wind here in Middle Tennessee. That might be about it. But some cloud cover. That's all we're going to see from this. But, East Texas, even as the storm weakens back into a tropical storm east of Dallas by Monday evening, you're still looking at a ton of rain in an area that's, been pretty saturated at times this year. So inland flooding is a growing concern with this. Also severe weather. Remember, when a hurricane's making its way on land, that right front quadrant often produces tornadoes. So severe weather, that's something to watch out for. Tornadoes, especially in the Houston metro, East Texas, that's what you need to be watching for. In addition, flooding, not only in terms of inland flooding, but storm surge potential, something to consider. Now, in terms of where landfall is going to be, likely in between Port Lavaca, Lake Jackson, this is Matagorda Bay area. That's kind of getting narrowed down. So I think that's pretty good chance of that's where the landfall is going to be tomorrow morning. We're hours out. So you take a look right now at rainfall totals, and you're seeing that orange, which is 8 inches to a foot of rain right along the immediate coast, but also, Houston, 6 to 8 inches. And you see that translating, all through East Texas. So we'll likely see some flash flooding from this. If you're in a flood prone area, even if you're not expecting those hurricane force winds, you still need to be paying close attention and be prepared to leave a flood prone area. Maybe stay with some friends or family members that live in, on higher ground. That's always a good thing to do. Peak storm surge is the other thing we're watching for, and you're looking at 2 to 4 feet in Corpus Christi. Matagorda Bay, likely going to see the worst of it, 4 to 6 feet. Once again, folks in these areas probably have been told to evacuate if they need to. And, you don't want to play around with storm surge. 3 to 5 feet, Galveston Bay. And any changes in intensity, if the storm gets a little bit stronger than expected before making landfall, those numbers will be a little bit higher. So that is another thing to keep in mind, is that the stronger the wind speeds, the higher the storm surge, because storm surge is wind from the storm pushing that water inland. And these are onshore winds right now, and we're already seeing that rise in levels, and you're just going to have that surge moving in. It's not a good combination, and it can be incredibly dangerous. So the other thing we can look at is arrival time of winds, which is pretty much happening this evening is when we're going to start to see uh, tropical storm force winds moving in. Sunday at 8 o'clock is likely when we're going to see it. So that's why, that mentioning of storms of, not a lot of time to prepare. It's because it's hard to, board up your house when you have tropical storm force winds happening. So once again, you've got a few more hours left in terms of time to get ready. So just prepare for this to be possibly a little worse than expected. Hopefully it makes landfall just as category 1. We don't want to see it as a 2, but check in frequently for updates, especially on the National Hurricane Center's website, nhc.noaa.gov. Best way to get the most up-to-date information. And we're going to keep you up to date on Beryl. Just remember, if you are not sure how to prepare, you want food and water, non-perishable food, so that's canned goods, things that don't go bad without refrigeration. In terms of water, you want 1 gallon per person per day. And then avoid candles. You want sources of light that are lit by battery. So flashlights, those little lanterns, that sort of thing. And if you do have a generator, make sure you have gas on hand for that. You want to gas up your vehicle as well, but also remember to operate your generator safely. Carbon monoxide poisoning is a big issue with generators. So just make sure you know how to operate it safely and that you're not, getting yourself into trouble. So please stay safe out there, and I will try to have another update uh, if this looks like it's going to really just, go crazy in terms of intensity. But right now, I'm expecting a hurricane to make landfall in Texas tomorrow morning, and there is that potential it could be a category 2. But right now, the expectation is a category 1. So I would prepare for a 2, hope for a 1, and please stay safe. Thanks, guys.